Hi, everybody. We're just waiting for a few more minutes and then we can get started. Thank you very much. You can feel free to say where you're from in the chat box. Hello, everyone. We're still having a lot of people entering, so we're just gonna wait one more minute and we're gonna start um, at 2:05. So thank you for your patience. The meeting is recorded and I'm going to share our presentations afterwards. And please feel free to share any question that you might have on the chat box. Unmute. Hi, everybody. So, welcome and thank you very much for joining us to this very interesting webinar. We have today a very strong lineup of different institutions and organizations within Israel to showcase Israel's healthcare system, capabilities, and readiness to deal with mass casualties events in all sorts. We would like to thank you all for coming today, and we hope that you will have a very interesting webinar due to the fact that we're so many people, there's more than 1,300 participants who have registered, and currently we have over 600 participants who are online. We won't be able to hear everybody, but we were encouraging you to definitely send us questions in the chat box. And after the webinar, we will send an email to everyone with our contact details, with the presentation, and with the recording of this webinar. So we're really hoping that you're going to have a very interesting and fruitful webinar. And I would like to start by inviting Professor Eli Sprecher, the CEO of the Tel Aviv Sourasky Medical Center, Ichilov, to speak.
Hi, thank you, Zev, and hi,
Once
everybody.
again, sorry.
It's really very, very exciting to see you all, and I'd like to welcome you all. I think that we are quite overwhelmed by the number of participants, more than 1,300. That's much more than what we expected. Most probably must reflect the degree of interest and also the relevance of the topic of this webinar. I'd like to start by thanking all the people who have made this event possible, the Foreign Trade Administration, Israel Ministry of Economy, Israel Ministry of Health, and especially the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs for their strategic partnership. I'd like also to very much thank all the people behind the scene, the Tel Aviv Medical Center team who led this effort, especially the emergency division, the international division, and the research and development division. And finally, I'd like to extend a very, very special welcome to all senior officials from hospitals and ministries of health and emergency services and disaster preparedness units globally. Finally, I'd like also to express our gratitude to all the very talented speakers you will hear in a moment. I think that the recent years, this is, I guess, no secret, everybody understand that the recent year really put unprecedented stress on healthcare systems. Pandemics and war and terror events and natural disasters, including over the past few days. And these events are, of course, terrible for those who experience them, for the people, for the nations. But they also carry with them a lot of lessons, and we need to learn those lessons. Israel healthcare system and the Tel Aviv Medical Center, more specifically, have developed based on what we have learned through those events we've been through, a robust and integrated approach to mass casualty management, where we are actually blending clinical excellency, interagency coordination, and innovation in real time. And I'm sure that you will very much enjoy the possibility to learn from all of our experience. I think that for us, it is certainly time to share. So I'd like to wish you all a very enjoyable webinar. And I'd like also to encourage you to engage with us and also to try to perhaps set up collaboration with us should you think that this may benefit your organization or your country. So thank you all, and now enjoy the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sprecher. And now it is my honor to invite Ambassador Yael Ravia Tzadok, Deputy Director General, Head of Economic Affairs Division at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It is with their great help that we were able to have such a huge outreach to so many countries. So, Yael, please take it away. One second. We're just Yael, I'm just unmuted you. There you
Thank you. You're the first one that succeed to unmute me. Good morning, good afternoon. It is so exciting to see you all on the screen, to see the numbers, which, as Professor Flecher said before me, reflects the high level of interest. And we are glad that we have an opportunity to share with you today some of our experiences. But let me start by thanking all of you for taking the time and being with us. It is a great honor to address you today on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the State of Israel. I would like to begin by thanking all of you, hundreds of participants from more than 50 countries, for joining us for this important webinar on emergency preparedness and mass casualty management. In Israel, the ability to respond swiftly and effectively to large-scale emergencies is not just a matter of national resilience. It is a matter of life and death. For decades, our healthcare system has been developing and refining protocols to deal with the unimaginable. Unfortunately, on October 7th, 2023, we were forced to put the experience into action in the most painful and devastating way. What we witnessed that day was unprecedented in scale, and yet hospitals across Israel, some operating under direct fire, mobilized with extraordinary speed and efficiency, demonstrating courage, innovation, and professionalism. Today's webinar is a unique opportunity to share the insights gained from that tragic chapter in our history. It is also an expression of the power of collaboration between ministries, hospitals, emergency responders, and of course, between nations like today's. Innovation has always been at the heart of Israel's approach to healthcare and emergency preparedness. Whether through cutting edge technologies, real time data systems, or rapid response training, we continue to seek better ways to protect our citizens and support others facing similar threats. We believe that the global community is stronger when we stand together, and I call you to contact our Israeli embassies in your own countries in order to look for further ways to expand collaboration and to follow up on this meeting. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all the partners, organizations, and speakers who contributed to this event: the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Economy and Industry, Magen David Adom, the Israeli Export Institute, Soroka Medical Center, and of course our host at Ichilov. Your commitment and professionalism inspire us all. And finally, as we speak of hope and resilience, I must take a moment to acknowledge the hostages still held in Gaza. We pray for their safe return and for the day when peace and healing will reach all those affected. Thank you very much for being part of this meaningful and timely conversation. We look forward to continuing this vital work together. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And thank you very much for your support. I want to continue to our first speaker, Ashi. I need to locate you in order to make sure that you're here. Are
Here,
you?
can you
eh,
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Let me put you on the spotlight.
Okay.
There you go. So Asher Shalmon, let me just introduce you while you're uploading. So Dr. Asher Shalmon is the Chief Executive of the International Relations at the Ministry of Health.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Indeed, an important event. And as a country, as a government, we seek to share as much as we have in different health topics and certainly emergency preparedness. Unfortunately for us, is a field of expertise for Israelis. We would, in that sense, be happy to share with all of you also on a bilateral level as well as in multilateral events our experience. And we are always open for questions or for sharing. Just few words about Israel as a medical system, as a health system. So we are functioning under a national health insurance law from 1995, which means that we have full universal coverage for all citizens and residents. As long as you have a legal status in the country, you are entitled to receive full medical services in a quite large pack of opportunities all over the country. So we finance our systems through compulsory employee contribution. It's 5% of our income. We do allow a very controlled, limited competition between four HMOs. Each individual is entitled to choose any of the four HMOs, and each individual is entitled to switch twice a year between the HMOs. HMOs must, by law, accept everybody and provide services in due time, in due distance, and in due quality. I would not touch what do mean. It's a complicated issue. So as I said, universal coverage and a standard basket of services which all four HMOs are obliged to provide to their members. We have an annual auditing update system where we update through demographic changes, we update through uh, index changes, and we update through new technologies which are being accepted into the basket through a public committee which recommend how to enter and which technologies to enter. So that's in general. We are preparing our system for 10 different scenarios of emergencies. There are more, but these are the most common ones. A mass casualty event, it could be mega, it could be due to natural causes, it could be due to war. Mass toxicology incidences, radiological events could be related to uh, accidents or into hostility activities. Cyber, actually, we have a national health cyber drill today where we are uh, exercising the whole system for a massive cyber attack on our hospitals, biological events, conventional war, as we are unfortunately experiencing now for the last 18 months, chemical warfare. It's not a close threat, but we are traditionally preparing for that for many years. Earthquake is becoming a big issue, and we indeed had our last major earthquake just more than 100 years ago. And statistically, in our region, we have every 100 year a major earthquake. So we are indeed in the last 4 or 5 years preparing a lot for this scenario. We are as well very much involved in international events like in Myanmar and Thailand these days. And we are always happy to share and to learn together. Fires and of course bad weather, meaning climate changes, again, it's emerging field of uh, which need new expertise with emergency preparedness and response. Our main task is indeed to save lives for these casualties of these events, but at the same time maintain the routine medical services for the population. And it's here to say that in Israel we do not have military hospitals, and all large public hospitals are treating both civilians and soldiers, both casualties and standard routine medical services at the same time. We did have a lot of experience providing it through COVID. I think we were one of the first countries that were flexible enough to introduce back elective services actually immediately after the first wave of COVID. And from that point ahead, we did not have major waiting times due to COVID, but that is for a different lecture. So the challenge is mandatory medical services, and indeed, with our limited both community-based and hospitalization system, we are trying to accumulate everything. So capacity building is a major issue. You can't just decide that you have the capacity. Capacity is the thing that you have to establish, build slowly, uh, and routinely update and routinely audit in order to stay online in sense of your ability to provide proper services during emergency. And indeed, Israel is working under a massive civilian military cooperation, both for military events, but also for civilian events. The Home Front Command of the Army is a major part of our system also due to civilian events. Our main strength is the fact that we are centrally operating. We have a central operation commanding, which I'll show you in a minute. And indeed, during emergency, we are running the whole system from a certain room in the ministry. There are four major legs for the table of having a proper preparedness for emergency. Indeed, has to do with infrastructure. I will say a few words about it, mostly regarding hospital, but certainly we need also to speak about community-based resilience. staff skills. It has to do with training, basic training of individuals, but then have a major drills of our hospitals and to see how a hospital is functioning as a whole, as an organ, not as individual skilled doctors. Then, of course, doctrine and SOAPs are important, and we need first to teach our doctrine, but be flexible enough to update doctrines as things are moving ahead, and that is certainly also true for standard operational, the SOAP issue, which is so important. And equipment. Equipment is a topic, and I would touch it in a minute when we are speaking about warehouses. So we have a cycle of drills for all of our hospitals. So each hospital would go through a mass casualty event drill every 3 years, a chemical drill every 3 years, and a radiological drill every 4 years. At the same time, we'd have a massive biological drill every 7 years and an earthquake drill every 8 years. Why earthquake is only 1 in 8 years? Because that is a much more complicated drill. It takes a lot of effort from both the hospital and us as a ministry to have this drill. So actually we are having usually 2 of these drills a year or 3 of these drills a year, and that is the maximum as a system that we have the capacity to have. Talking about ongoing monitoring and preparedness. So national development review and approve of standard operating procedures, SOAPs, daily follow-up on hospital capacity. And indeed, it's not enough just to have a doctrine and have an audit every second year. You have to be in daily touch with your hospital system and understand how the capacity is being maintained. And of course, after action reviews, following each event, we would have a structured lesson learning system in order to develop these learnings into recommendation and then into policies and doctrine. And the Supreme Health Authority, which I'll speak about in a minute, through the emergency division of the Ministry of Health uh, uh, would really take care that all hospitals as well as EMS systems would be part of these new doctrine and would be properly updated. Annual evaluation and preparedness, again, it is done on objective parameters with a centralized, computerized database that we have, and periodic evaluation in hospitals and EMS. And we do have some surprise drills. We could come 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. in a weekend and declare a drill. And we do it occasionally, and it has its own qualities in comparison to plan will. Talking about the Supreme Health Authority, and indeed Israel during emergency is run through a single room, a kind of a coalition of the three major players of the system. The Ministry of Health, run by the Director General, is the chairman of the authority. Under him, the CEO of Clalit Healthcare Services. Clalit is the largest healthcare HMO in the country, runs or have around approximately 50% of the population as members. But the main reason for that is that Clalit is also running a whole chain of public general hospitals. At the same time, the military, through the IDF Surgeon General, is a third component of this coalition. And this coalition of these three figures are running the system, the whole country, both civilian and military medical services at the same time in a coordinated manner. So the national headquarters is run through a national emergency operations center, actually near the airport, not inside the ministry in Jerusalem, but a specific designated building now not far away from Tel Aviv. And it is responsible for controlling, planning, and coordinating the response and operating our healthcare system. Each evacuation, and both primary and secondary evacuations, each issue of logistics, of supply, each issue of declaring emergency states, of evacuating unprotected wards or going under shelter for critical wards. All of that is done in coordination with the operation room of the Ministry of Health. The operation room is a large room. All of these functions are there. I do not have the time to go through it, but you could see that everything is there, from pharmacology and mental health and cyber and logistic and security and nursing and manpower and everything else is inside the room, are part of that, and they are as well run by centers which are surrounding this room and working around it. COVID indeed was a major lesson for us. And as we are now in a war conflict for the last 18 months, many of the COVID lessons were used in this war. Things like home care, home hospitalization, issues like telemedicine and stress disorder treatment. Telemedicine could be used not only for physical needs, but also for first aid, mental support in a wide scale. Ongoing training of working at the OAS, of our operational center, hospital emergency room dashboard. We did develop a computerized state-of-the-art dashboard for the whole country during COVID, and indeed it's being used also now in the war. And of course, using a lot of data and business intelligence, and in the future, we'll use also artificial intelligence to improve our capacities. Logistic is a whole world. I would not go into detail due to time issues, but we have logistics and stockpiles, both on a hospital level, on a regional level, and a central level, in order to be uh, able to independently support the system for a long time during issues of emergency, how to really allocate and run it on all three levels. That is a whole lecture, which I would be happy to give in a different time. Each hospital needs to have critical infrastructure. Again, issues related to energy and electricity, water maintenance and quality, medical gases, properly having infrastructure which could hold during or even through direct attacks. And indeed, during the last conflict, three of our hospitals did receive a direct attack. There's issues of non-structural protections, which I don't have the time, a preparedness service, public alarm system, and of course, each hospital in the country have a helicopter landing pad. In that sense, we are quite unique, and indeed, the whole system is has a capacity to receive casualties through the air. So, just to summarize my speech, my short lecture. So first, Israel healthcare system is in constant alert, and that is for the 10 different scenarios that I was speaking about. But the fact is that straight after COVID, we found ourselves in a military conflict situation that create a constant alert. The medical services are mandatory, and the ministry has the power to operate centrally and run all needed services for the population, both standard routine services as well as emergency services. All medical institutions declared as national resources. We look at each and every hospital as a national resource. The strength of the Israeli health system in emergency is central commanding. Maybe that is the most important message that I have for you today. I'm telling it quite a lot to many of your governments. Central commanding is crucial during emergency. It was true in COVID. It is certainly true in other types of conflicts. So evacuation from the scene priority as well as admission to ER priority due to mass casualty incidents is always just according to medical conditions and life-saving needs. And we always need to put aside any other issue beside having the most efficient system at a time in order to provide the best service both to the public but certainly to casualties in any of these events. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here with you, and I'll be happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashi. Really appreciate that you this very insightful presentation that you had. There's a lot of questions. We'll try to answer some of them on the chat, and then maybe in the afterwards we'll take a few questions when everybody will finish. And I want to ask all the speakers also to try to stick to their times. I would like to call our next speaker, Dr. Daniel Trotsky, Deputy Medical Director and Director of Emergency Medicine Services and Preparedness at the Tel Aviv Sourasky Medical Center. Daniel, do you need to unmute yourself?
No, I'm good. Hello, everybody.
But I can't see you. Do you want to?
I have my camera on.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I can see you. All right.
Okay, so hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Daniel Trotsky. I'm the Deputy Medical Director and Head of Emergency Services and Preparedness here in Tel Aviv Medical Center. Let me start by saying this is such an honor to be able to present in front of such an audience of clinical leaders. We have here hundreds of clinical leaders from all over the world. Thank you for joining us. This is really exciting. Today, I want to take you inside our real-world experience managing mass casualty events, not in theory, but on the ground in one of the busiest hospitals in the Middle East. This talk isn't just about what we've done, it's about what we can take home to strengthen our hospital readiness for the unexpected. So a little bit about myself. I've spent the last 2 decades living and breathing emergency medicine, from running Israel's largest ER to pre-hospital systems like Magen David Adom. I teach disaster response and serve on the board of the Israeli Emergency for Association of the Israeli Association of Emergency Medicine. What I'll share today draws from the battlefield, the emergency room, and the boardroom. Our hospital sits in the heart of Tel Aviv. It's Israel's most densely populated urban area. It comprises of 4 main hospitals: the Ichilov General Hospital, the Rehab Hospital, the Dana Duek Children's Hospital, and the Liz Maternity and Women's Hospital. We serve over 2 million outpatient visits annually, but it's not only the size, it's the capability. Today we are addressing pretty much around 70% of Israel population with our services. The hospital is not only big, but it's built for scale. With over 1,600 beds, thousands of dedicated staff, and hundreds of thousands of ER visits annually. We operate as a full ecosystem under one roof. We're a city inside a city, capable of pivoting rapidly from routine care to full crisis mode without a missing beat if needed. Our ER innovative digital applications, and we're constantly evolving digital tools from smart check-in kiosks to real-time data dashboards to our central control tower. This helps us to manage patient load more efficiently and save time when it counts the most. So a little bit of our emergency hospital. It's a level 1 trauma center. It's home to one of the largest emergency facilities in the world. We see here more than 230,000 patients per year. So this 3-floor facility is very busy. Ashi talked about a mass casualty event incident. This is basically announced when the system is overwhelms the available resources, no matter what causes the incident. It's not just about the number of injured, it's about the mismatch between needs and your ability to respond. And it requires one thing above all: efficiency and surge capacity capabilities. So this is something that needs to make the right decisions faster than ever before. Just in the last year, we've handled a few mass casualty events, as you can see in the different examples, from missile attacks to riots, car rammings, and terror shootings. The emergency department doesn't just respond, it adapts in real time. And our mission is continuously to work under this chaos. And each event is unique, but the principle of response is always shared. The world is changing. Mass casualty events are on the rise by frequency and complexity, not only due to geopolitical crises or wars, but due to various reasons, as you can see here in the examples that we have placed. But most importantly, I think that the awareness in the healthcare system is on the rise. And this is the main reason for this gathering and having so many people around here in this Zoom session. We all understand that hospitals must be anchors of stability and serves in times of need to our different communities. So I would like to ask you if you feel that your hospital is prepared. So basically, I think that always a medical personnel would answer this question, not enough. And only when you say not enough, it's probably the most proper question to every facility around the world, us as well. Why Israel? Israel has a real-time resilience lab. From COVID, as mentioned before, to different wars, our hospitals don't just survive, they operate consistently under pressure. We've developed a national doctrine, undefined protocols across hospitals, EMS services, and the military. And this is how we execute in times of need. Our facilities in Israel are prepared for basically any disaster, governed by the Ministry of Health and the military. And we have the experience of real-time treating thousands of mass casualty event patients in the different scenarios. Many academic papers and textbooks have driven out of the Israeli experience, unfortunately, and we are at least glad to be capable to share this knowledge. On October 7th, the Iron Swords War began. Within 24 hours, our underground hospital was fully functional. We scaled ICU, expanded trauma bays, and handled over 100 severely wounded soldiers. All of this while 20% of our medical staff were drafted to the army as reserve forces. So this is not just resilience, it's a muscle memory built through years of preparation. We also received over 20 hostages in Tel Aviv Medical Center, including children and elderly. Each case required a unique multidisciplinary response, trauma, psychiatry, rehabilitation, and family care. The emotional dimension of mass casualty events can't be overstated. We always must be ready to care with compassion and not just competence. So how do we actually make it work? And I will try to answer some of the questions that were placed in the text. So first, we can rapidly transform our underground parking lot into a 700-bed emergent hospital, fully operational. This can be operated in less than 24 hours. It's not only theory, we've done it before. Secondly, we make data-driven decisions using BI or AI tools to guide everything from triage, prioritization, to resource deployment in real time in our control tower. Cybersecurity is baked in our emergency plan. This is something that is really important to us, to protect our digital infrastructure even during attacks. And most importantly, we don't operate in a vacuum. We coordinate tightly with national institutes such as the Ministry of Health, the military, the EMS service, and so on. Preparedness is not a one-time achievement. It's an ongoing skill. This is, for example, our real marks that we've got during 2024 in the National Ministry of Health checkups. Some of the text beforehand asked us, how often do we operate? How often do we drill? So, for example, these are evaluation drills that our hospital took part of for different scenarios: missile attacks, biological events, mass shooting terror attacks, and so on. You can see that most of our scores are quite high, but for example, our earthquake score, as you can see, is not there yet, and we have built a plan to better prepare ourselves. An earthquake mass casualty event and working outside of the building is something that never happened before, and we are making ourselves better, so when we meet this event, we will be better in capabilities. Referring the questions of how much do we prepare? On the left side, you can see our annual activity Gantt. I know that you can't see the text and numbers, it's small, but it gives you a glimpse into our yearly plan of how to plan ahead and how to instruct all thousands of workers in the hospital. On the right side, you can see the amount of training sessions per scenario in each years. We are talking of thousands and thousands of different sessions of instructions for each scenario from different staff, general staff, ICU nurses, emergency medicine, surgeons, and so on. So here you can see the number of manpower for the different sectors and the amount of instructions and the amount of effort we need to put just to make everybody remember the protocols and know the different drills. This is some of the pictures of our exercises in our emergency hospital. You can see here our emergency medicine and trauma teams practicing on the orange dummies on the bed. On the right lower side, you can see our teams that also do some trainings for military trainings. But this is how we practice mass casualty incident drills. On the text, somebody asked, how often do we do that? So as Ashi from the Ministry of Health said before, there's an annual plan that the Ministry of Health gives us every year. But for example, just a month ago, we operated a drill, a surprise drill on our teams by ourselves to make sure we are ready for a real-time event. We don't just drill for ourselves, we also share knowledge. We've trained teams from abroad. After each mega drill, we run debriefs and deliver tailored reports and to leadership firms. And for example, after visiting a specific delegation overseas, we write a summary report of strength or points that we think that a hospital or an emergency medicine or EMS service need to change in order to be better prepared. So where we stand today, our we have 4 pillars for emergency preparedness. First, strategic planning and infrastructure. Second, training and readiness. Third, technology and cybersecurity advancement. And the fourth one is lesson learned and continuous improvement. And this is something that is always on the go. We have created an initiative for sharing information. This is why, for example, we are meeting here now with all of you from all over the world. We also launch all kinds of different programs, such as the MPAC program, to close knowledge gaps, to give your teams tools that we have tested already in real-time scenarios. So here you can see some of the, here we can see some of the programs that we have, either visiting delegations to our hospital, either the MPAC course for management leadership groups, or emergency medicine groups and trauma groups. Also, we have delegations that goes overseas to better prepare hospitals for a mass casualty event. And we use our very highly experienced and ranked manpower in order to teach the core topics of emergency preparedness. Former hospital CEOs, former emergency medicine and trauma hospitals, all the major leaders of our different topics that run emergency medicine preparedness are part of the team and the delegations and the programs we have. I'd like once again to thank you all for being with us today, and I'll be happy to take questions if needed at the end of the talk. Thank you.
Great, and thank you very much, Daniel. You can unshare your presentation. Thank you so much. There's a lot of questions. We're gonna take them after the conversation, but we're really going through on times very nicely. And I'd like to call the next speaker, which is Ms. Nili Shalev, CEO of the Expert Institute. And Israel is not known only by its knowledge on this topic, but also on its innovation. And I'm gonna have Nili to talk about that. Nili, can you see me? Are you muted?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Let me spotlight you for everyone. There you go. Now you're good.
Hi, everybody. This is truly exciting to see the numbers and the interest on the topic. I'm going to give a little bit of a different angle on technology in Israel and how it's merged into also emergency preparedness. You've heard some of the things, so I'll go over it quickly. Israel is definitely a leader in medical innovation. We have about $2 billion invested in Israeli technologies in healthcare, about 1,500 startups, emergency culture, which is maybe unfortunate, but this is the situation we live in. So definitely it's something that we have hands-on experience, and a very, very unique and tight-knit health ecosystem. The health ecosystem in Israel, Ashi touched upon it, and also we have Ichilov in the room and other hospitals, but first of all, top-notch hospitals in Israel, 4 HMOs that cover basically the entire population of Israel and have under fully universal healthcare system, and basically have all the data on all of the population and the ability to outreach the population in a very fast way. We are always proud of our human resources, our research institutions, Weizmann Institute, Tel Aviv, Bar Ilan, Haifa, Technion, Jerusalem, of course, etc. government is heavily involved. Also, both the Ministry of Health, but also the Innovation Authority, which is the R&D arm of the Israeli government that invests quite a substantial amount of its funding into healthcare and life sciences. Multinational players that are very prominent in the Israeli market and active in the Israeli market and invest in R&D in the Israeli market in collaboration with the research institutes and companies, and a very strong venture capital and incubation system for innovation. So if we look at the technology healthcare ecosystem, we see that about 30% of the companies invest in or develop digital health and AI solutions for healthcare. About 600 companies, that's massive for a state like Israel. Medical devices, which used to be our traditional strength, about 37% of the sector, pharma about 10%, and biotech about 20% of the companies, a total of 1,800 companies, out of them 1,500 startup companies. All of the ecosystem is heavily empowered by digital health. And I think today it's all over, but Israel has some uniqueness here. Just a second. Over 25 years of digitized patient data enables advanced machine learning models for disease prediction and personalized treatment. AI-powered platforms link medical histories, genetics, and real-time patient data to detect diseases early and optimize treatment plans. And government mandate electronic health record provide real-time insights, facilitating efficiency healthcare delivery. So everything is linked in Israel, both on the personal data, HMO, hospitals, inter-hospital linkage, and it enables a very strong support for decision-making and treatment. There is a transfer of knowledge and know-how from defense and military technology into life-saving technologies. This has been a characteristic of Israel for a very long time, always thinking on how to take defense-related technologies to do better and to serve population better and to find intelligent solutions for healthcare problems. And of course, the higher education and training, which you've heard also by the preparation and the simulations of activities. Everything today is supported by advanced technologies and the latest in tech and devices. So emergency preparedness in Israel, of course, there are massive security threats, which have unfortunately been for the last year and a half or 2 years were quite substantial and traumatic. Before that, all of us all over the world experienced COVID. And there is always the potential of natural disasters. Israel is located in an area which is has the potential for a massive earthquake, but fortunately still hasn't come. Key response organizations, you'll hear from MADA, from the Red Cross, from Israel Red Cross, and which have AI-driven EMS dispatch. IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, which are integrated into the emergency response organizations, the Home Front Command, which is active throughout the years, both on COVID response and also on, of course, disasters and defense and security threats. And the hospital's emergency response teams, which you heard about Ichilov, and also you'll hear from additional hospitals later. I think COVID-19 was a good preparation for us for dealing with what came later. There was a very fast vaccine rollout, which was backed by our HMO system and the ability to touch base with each and every citizen on a very fast way. It was an AI-driven pandemic. There was a close monitoring of all the trends and the activities throughout the pandemic, the various symptoms. It was totally backed by AI, and the research institutions worked very closely with the hospitals and the Ministry of Health to provide data and analysis. And there was a remote ICU patient management. So I think Israel's COVID response, which was quite successful, enabled us to be better prepared for what unfortunately came later. Israel has also international impact. As you can see, Ichilov is outreaching internationally, but all the systems, all the organizations in Israel are facing outside. Israel is a small country and surrounded by, we consider ourselves like an island, so we're looking to the outside. We want to reach out not only with technologies, but also capabilities and help. And global medical aid was one of the pillars of Israel's international support, both in Haiti, Nepal, the Turkey-Syria earthquake, and currently in Thailand, there is a group that is trying to assist to rescue people under the disaster of the earthquake. Everything is backed by technologies. Both, you see here a few examples. I'll show you some additional examples later. So looking at technology in emergency medicine, both AI and big data, so predictive ER demand, stroke detection, for example, telemedicine and all the remote diagnosis, which is extremely important, both COVID as well as other disasters, trauma care, portable wound care, bandages, for example, robotics, drones for medical supply delivery, of course, cybersecurity, which is extremely important to make sure that everything keeps on working without disruption, and all the AI tools that enable decision-making and prediction. Here I have a few slides. Zev, I think we're sharing the presentations later, so I'm happy to share the slides, but you can see all types of unique technologies that were developed in Israel to support emergency care, both trauma cares, minimally invasive devices, portable emergency medical devices, portable wound care systems, of course, the life-saving bandage, telemedicine, title care, which enables remote diagnosis for primary care, which is very today rolled extensively in Israel, portable emergency medical devices, etc. We have also innovation in AI and big data for emergency response, innovations in wearable and portable. These are examples. As you saw, we have about 18,000 companies, disaster and emergency preparedness technologies. So we have quite extensive and interesting landscape of innovation in Israel. And I think just to sum up, and as you heard also from previous presenters, this is a very close, tight-knit ecosystem. Easily, we are all connected on almost on a daily basis with experience in medical emergency innovation. All cutting-edge technologies are integrated into the systems and can be also seen implemented in when disaster unfortunately happens. And we are proud to say that and hope that we can even have global impact, but also keep on doing that for saving lives worldwide. Just to say a word about the Israel Export Institute, we can connect you to the Israeli ecosystem. We are a government or a public entity with no strings attached. We provide, this is our This is what we do for a living. We provide data on what's happening in Israel and connect to Israeli innovation. We can do tech scoutings, we can do delegations and roadshows, business networking, business events worldwide. We participate in events worldwide, and we work with all the Israeli ecosystem. So I'm calling you to be in touch with us and with anyone else in this conversation if you want to explore more about Israeli innovation and technology. And Zev, thank you for the opportunity. And I wish all of us safe years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neely. And we will, of course, share the contact details and presentation of all speakers so you can have them in the Expo Institute. Both you have the representative of the Ministry of Economy, or the commercial attaches, and then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that are here on the group. And they can definitely connect you to any solutions and any technologies that you might need from Israeli health tech and medtech. All right, so our next speaker, and we're right on time. We have just two more speakers, and we're done, and we're gonna have some open discussion. So I want to call Mr. Chaim Rafalovsky. He's the disaster manager coordinator at the Magen David Adom. It's the Israeli EMS, and I'm gonna spotlight you for everyone. Chaim, go ahead.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. And just to highlight what Neely said about a very close ecosystem, it's amazing that I personally know all the speakers that have spoken so far, and I think it's the same for all of us.
Yeah. Chaim,
Um,
just if I can just interrupt, you can put it on full present mode, your
it
presentation.
it is.
So I'm not seeing, I don't think that I see it on my end. So
I
just,
will stop sharing, and
yeah, if you can do it again, that would be great.
I will do it again.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
So, Chaim, are you okay?
I hope
There you
so.
go.
How do you see it now?
We're still, well, I see it as a presentation, but go ahead,
Now?
continue. Not yet, but
Now?
but you can go ahead. See if you can
Okay.
flip. Okay.
So I'm going to give the example of October 7th, and the title of my presentation is Surprised but Not Unprepared. A few words about Magen David Adom in Israel. Magen David Adom, the Red Star of David, is three organizations in one. We are the National Society, which is part of the international movement of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent. And we are tasked by the state to provide EMS, emergency medical services, pre-hospital emergency care, blood banking, and human milk banking. I'm not going to talk today about the blood bank and human milk bank. I'm going to talk only about the EMS part. And I will start by saying that Israel is unique in a way because it has a non-governmental EMS provider, which is the Red Cross in our case. We are an organization which is a mixture of paid staff. We are around 4,500 paid staff with more than 30,000 volunteers. Among them, around 12,000 are young people under the age of 18. The others are after their military service or doing community servicing instead of doing military service. So we are a mixture of volunteers and paid staff, and I would start by saying that the volunteers are the real muscle of the organization. A paid organization cannot enlarge its services without doing damage to our regular activity. The only way to do that is by using volunteers. On October 7th, we lost 7 Magen David Adom people, 2 paid staff, Aaron Chaimov and Amit Man, and 5 community-based volunteers that were killed in the line of
Um,
duty.
Chaim, I just want to say something. I don't know if you're flipping the slides, but we can't see it.
Uh,
So
uh,
what I'm gonna do now, if you can stop, Yeah, now okay. So we see it, but it's not on full presentation mode. But you can
Zev,
continue.
can you please can you see now
Yeah,
the
yeah. Go
presentation
ahead.
mode?
No, but we can see the slide. It's
So
do,
let's.
do you want
I will
us to
stop sharing and
stop sharing? We will share it from our end and just
yeah, please. Yes,
do
please.
next slide every time. Okay, Sarah, can you please do it? There you go. Wait 1 second. There you go. Sarah's gonna upload it.
Zev, I'm sharing.
Okay, now it's great. And just Chaim, just save next page, and Sarah will flip it
Next
over.
slide. Next slide. Next slide. October 7th to me sums up to this statement by an Arab Muslim paramedic that was on duty at Rahat station on that night. He was dispatched to the scene. They treated a very seriously injured young woman from the party at Nova. She told them to leave her because she's going to die. Of course, they didn't. They brought her alive to the hospital. And what the paramedic told me is that after I transferred her, Anis said, after transferring her to the emergency department, I thought I'm going to die today. There is no way I'm going back to the scene and I will survive. So I called my father-in-law. I told him that I apologize. I love them a lot and asked him to take care of my two children, went back to the ambulance and went back to the scene. And for me, this is the story of many people, volunteer based staff that went out, put their lives into harm's way to save people they didn't know. Next one, please. On the operational side, you see what happened in reality. The red dots are communities that were taken over by the Hamas terrorists. We couldn't get to the patients there because anyone who got into those communities was shot and killed. The blue dots are our stations. And what we understood is that the people in the community are using dirt roads that are used for agriculture work to run away with casualties from the site where the casualties were towards the hospitals that are in the north in Ashkelon and in Beersheba to the east. So we went back to the very basics, and the Red Star of Davids that you see on the map were casualty collection points that were established on the main junctions that are a necessary bottleneck on your way to the hospital. We don't call them field hospitals because you can see it. Rockets were fired all the time. There were terrorists all around. So all we could do is place our personnel with their ambulances, with their equipment to do rapid triage, and in case the patient needed some life-saving procedures, to do that. The same way, next slide, please, we did in our stations. What you see on the right-hand side are Magen David Adom stations where we had for many years an emergency depot. An emergency depot planned for what we called a mega disaster or an earthquake. And I have to say that for many years we had discussions, why is that depot needed? It was the kind of it's a worst case scenario. It's never going to happen. We are wasting a lot of time, energy, and money just keeping that alive. That day, that equipment paid its price and the work that has been invested in gold. In the middle, you see one of our largest dilemmas that day, and that was the transfer of patients. The south of Israel has only two hospitals, Soroka, which is a very large hospital, one of the largest in the country, and trauma center, and Barzilai, which is a much smaller hospital, which is a community trauma center. They received almost all the casualties. So there was a need to organize a massive operation of secondary reallocation of patients with ambulances sent from the center of Israel towards those hospitals to reallocate with the direction of the Ministry of Health. And Ashi already spoke about the integrated system. So the Ministry of Health takes the policy decisions and Magen David Adom executes them when it comes to the transfer of patients all over the country. Next, please. And these are the figures of the 1 year of war, just to give you an idea. During that year, we responded to more than 2 million emergency calls. Magen David Adom has, as Nili said, its own command and control system developed by Magen David Adom, AI-based, and we responded to more than 2 million calls, almost 3 million. We dispatched 1 million of ambulances, and I'm very proud to point out the 5 million volunteer hours done throughout this year. Next, please. So what have we learned? First of all, crisis managers are always considered about the crazy guys who are thinking about unbelievable scenarios. October 7th showed us that this is not a luxury, it's a must. And we have to think about the unthinkable. And today in a workshop that we organized, a very interesting point was raised that we should not prepare for a scenario, but we should prepare for a risk. We need to identify risks or risk things that cause a risk and prepare for that, because if we stick to a scenario, there will always be a scenario that we are not prepared for. And when we are talking about preparing for an unthinkable scenario, we are talking about the training, about the SOPs of the organization, the supplies, and the procedures. Next. The question is, what is our objective? Because you cannot control everything. You cannot manage everything. And on October 7th, we had to take a very tough decision, which was we are not going to record every patient we are seeing. It will delay their transfer to the hospitals. It will delay, it will cause them to stay longer in a very unstable and risky environment. It will delay our personnel in a risky environment. So we preferred treating life-threatening conditions and letting the patients go to the hospital, understanding that at the end of the day, medical records, it's going to be an issue. Stop the bleed and public compliance, a huge success. People did what they were told to do. The fact that police officers in Israel and many military people carry with them a tourniquet saved lives. And I will repeat it. The fact that people were carrying tourniquets saved lives. People did what they were told. We have a case that someone had a major injury in the gluteus maximus in the butt. The person was bleeding. The person who called us to inform us about this casualty received the instruction, take off the socks of the patient, push them into the hole in the butt, and hold tight. That saved the life of the patient. It controlled the bleed. If you would go to a conference and say, we order to put use socks into an injury, it sounds crazy. It works. The first responders, and I'm a first responder my whole life, are the general public. They are not the ambulance services. And we must treat them as the true first responders, as the ones who are there seconds after the person is injured, and we need to bring them with us to help those people. In Magen David Adom, using general public is part of what we do on a daily basis. And now we are working very hard together with the Ministry of Health to empower communities to be better prepared and be able to do better than just being a bystander. Next, please. As I said, our volunteers are the real muscle of the organization. This is what allowed us on October 7th to jump from 400 ambulances to 1,400, 1,400 ambulances in 2 hours available throughout the country. Without our volunteers, we were not be able to do that. We normally forget our call takers and dispatchers. They encountered themselves in a situation that was never seen before, that truly there were situations where we were not able to send any help. And they had to stay with these people and help them with whatever they could, understanding that they are hearing people dying on the other side of the phone. These are the unrecognized heroes of this operation, and we should always remember they are a crucial, essential part of our response. Next, please. Magen David Adom carries the images of those hostage, the 59 held hostage in Gaza, and they will stay on our ambulances until they come home, hopefully soon. Next, please. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Chaim. You can feel free to unshare.
No, you're sharing. I'm just
Okay,
I'm
great.
muting
Thank you so.
myself.
Oh yeah, right. True. Chaim, thank you very much for this presentation. It's really it was really interesting to hear from what you had to say, and yeah, we're very much excited. We're getting towards the basically to towards the end of this webinar, and I do want to present our last, but definitely not least, speaker. And this is Dr. Tzachi Slutsky. He's the Deputy Director of the Soroka Medical Center and also the Chair of the Israel Association of Emergency Medicine. For those of you who don't know, and Tzachi will say it, Soroka was the main hospital that received a huge amount of patients on the 7th of October. Tzachi, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you
Great.
hear
So
me?
I'm spotlighting you for everybody, and you can take it away.
Great. So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much having me here. Thanks, Ichilov, inviting me to speak here. So, actually, as you heard, I'm Dr. Slutsky. I'm the Deputy Director in Soroka Medical Center. Actually, Soroka Medical Center, I will say a few words about Soroka, and after it, I will focus on the 7th of October at Soroka Medical Center. So Soroka actually is the biggest hospital in the south of Israel. It's tertiary, if you can see the map. So it's staying in Beersheba. It's actually 40 kilometers from Gaza, and is, as already mentioned, is the biggest hospital, tertiary hospital in the south of Israel. And as the closest hospital to Gaza, actually, we receive a lot of patient and injured patient on the 7th of October and in different war before. Soroka is a tertiary hospital. It's actually a very big hospital with more than 5,000 employees. It's a level 1 trauma center, one of the biggest trauma center in Israel, and is actually affiliated to a university, the Ben Gurion University, that is close to the hospital. A lot of enterprise that's are in Soroka, but I will not spend time to speak about it. We will move up to speak about what happened actually on the 7th of October at this Saturday morning at Israel and at the south of Israel in Soroka Medical Center. So I just want to say a few words about what happened in Soroka and different other hospital on Saturday. Saturday, actually, it's a day off in Israel. And if I told you before that in Soroka there is around 5,000 employees usually, so on Saturday morning, actually, we have around 300 to 500 employees only at the hospital with only critical spot that's work, like ER, OR, and OBGYN and other stuff that's work, but the department are open, but actually not without any ambulatory or out of hospital. It's everything is closed. So when the first alarm actually started, and on Beersheba it was at 6:34 a.m. at morning time, we actually decide to do some critical and very strategic decision. That's, as we can call it, it was the golden hour of Soroka. That's all this actually help us to succeed these days. You need to understand that actually Soroka, it's 40 kilometers for Gaza with a lot of rocket that was turned around Soroka at this morning, as to all Israel. And actually, we need to prepare evacuation of a lot of departments that are unprotected. A lot of buildings in Soroka and other hospitals also are not protected, like pediatric, geriatric. So we needed to move them as fast as we can to a protected places. All the emergency headquarters of the hospital actually arrived as soon as possible to Soroka, and we did another few decision. First of all, we retain actually the night shift. It was morning time when the shift actually are switched. 7 a.m. It's the time of switching shift. So actually we tell the night shift to stay back at the hospital, and on this way we actually add 2 shifts together in the hospital. We decide to do a reduction of inpatient load, like we start to discharge as much patient as we can from wards, patient that we could discharge. And unfortunately, we also shut down a critical emergency infrastructure because they were unprotected. In Soroka, we have around 26 operating rooms. Out of them, 8 are actually unprotected, so we needed to close them, catheterization lab, and some imaging device. But the most crucial actually decision that we did is on 8 a.m. that we decide to announce a mass casualty incidents. Now, I must say that at 8 a.m. on Soroka Medical Center, there were few injured patients, around 10 to 12 patients only. So actually, a lot of debate was about if it's correct to decide to announce a mass casualty incidents or at this time. And again, many parts of Israel still didn't know how huge is this attack. But when you announce a mass casualty incident as soon as you can, actually, it's a staff activation, and a lot of staff, medical staff, actually arrived to Soroka. Actually, the first patient and the first surgery that's arrived was a young lady, pregnant, 40 plus 5, pregnant woman that's actually arrived with a gunshot wound at the abdomen. She was an Arabic Israeli patient that's actually worked in a village of near Gaza, and she was shot in the abdomen by a terrorist, a Hamas terrorist, and she arrived to Soroka. Unfortunately, the fetus died, but she survived. And a few days ago, actually, we were very happy that she born as first baby here in Soroka. If you take this first day, 24 hours, so actually we treat on this first day 674 patient casualties, not patient injured casualties. And from them, 20% were actually critically injured. Some of them were children, some of them were older. And if you think about a mass casualty incidents, and if you think about a lot of terror attack that's actually had in different places in the world, but on the 7th of October, it was a bit different because there was one large hospital that actually was receiving the highest number of severe patient, but it was also under fire. Soroka and Beersheba were under fire with around 70 alarms only on the 7th of October at the morning time when many of the buildings are unprotected. As you can see in this picture, so you can see a lot of staff, a lot of medical staff that's arrived to Soroka. This is the ER, and a lot of staff, I mean around 2,000 employees, different group of employees that's arrived till around 9:30 morning time. That's helped us a lot, and this also all because we announced very soon about the mass casualty incidents. Later on this day, also many soldiers arrived, and we also needed to find a place to take all the gun, grenades, and other stuff of the soldiers that arrived with them, and actually take them out of the ER. Also, we did. As you can see on this small video, that I hope you can see it, many of the injured patients arrive actually by themselves, by private cars, at least at the morning, at the early morning. Many of them arrive by themselves. A lot of medical staff, support medical staff actually arrive. You can see a lot of families that run inside Soroka to try to find out their families. And I want you to listen to this video, and I will continue in a second. So as you can see at this video, actually, this is me on the video. That's actually, it was only 9:20 a.m. And actually, I asked the nurse, the chief nurse, let me know what happened upstairs on the wards. That I want to know that we didn't fill it up and we didn't pass the full occupancy of Soroka. Because it's only early time and we didn't know for how long this can take this attack. If you take the casualty influx, as you can see on the graph, the numbers, and you can see that, for example, between 12 to 1 p.m. on the 7th of October, we received 83 casualties. That means every 40 seconds, we receive one casualty, and most of them were severely injured. We finished this 48 hours with around 800 casualties. One of the things, as I told you, that's helped us a lot is the reduction of inpatient volume. We actually discharge as many patients as we could. Patients that could go home, patients that were actually stable, that was hospitalized before the 7th of October, and all this to try to have more free beds for casualty that's arrived. We didn't use only the surgical ward. We actually used also the general internal medicine ward. And actually we switch two internal medicine wards to a surgical ones. Another actually something that we need to manage on the 7th of October, it's the identification of unrecognized patient. Actually, you are not used to do it. Most of the patients that arrive recognized. And if it's one that's arrived unrecognized, it's easy. But when you have hundreds of injured patients that arrive unrecognized, actually, you need to be prepared with a team of photographers, of social workers, of students, of AI technology that can help you to recognize as fast as you can and identify these patients. Soroka actually continued to be the closest hospital with Brazilai to Gaza and still receive a lot of casualties till nowadays. And this is the number, if you speak about the number of casualties that's arrived to Soroka till February 25. And unfortunately, also Soroka lost doctors. This is Dr. Eitan Neeman, an intensive care pediatric doctor that actually was with us on the 7th of October. On the left side, this is from the AR. On the right side is from Sderot. When he was went to the army, and a few hours later he was dead. And another great doctor, Daniel Levy, a ENT doctor, that's actually was killed with Amit Man, a paramedic that they worked together to save life in Be'eri, and they actually was killed there. Appreciate your time and thank you very much for the opportunity and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Tzachi. Thank you so much. It's really, you can just unshare your screen,
Sorry for me.
but it's really inspiring to see what have you been up to at that day and how you responded in such a professional manner. I'm sure there's so many different questions on the chat for you, Tzachi. So we'll open up for question in a little bit. Just want to recap, and I want to share my screen for a second, just so because we have spoken a little bit about the different things, and there were different courses and different opportunities, and when Dr. Trotsky has mentioned before, we spoke about two main layers of educational services that we can provide. One is the operation and consulting, and the other one is the clinical services. And I want to focus on the AMPEC course, and this is something that we're doing with in collaboration with actually all the different organizations that are here in this webinar. And this is a basically 3-day courses that we want to provide for hospitals manager, EMS, emergency medicine specialists, executives, government and defense healthcare officials, and different disaster management professionals who want to understand how do they need to switch their mindset of what do they need to look at? How does a organization go from 0 to 100, from a hospital that basically have outpatient clinics, oncology, diabetes, everybody needs to take care, but also at the same time has to deal with mass casualties events. Like we did, like Soroka did, where you have ballistic missiles and suicide attack at the same time, and you need to still provide assistance, or how do you go about in a mass casualty event which is much more prolonging, like war, like a pandemic? How do you still prepare the your organization to that sense? So this is something that we want to have people to come and experience and I would say enjoy the real world experience that Israel has to offer. And this is again, it's an expert-led lectures by people who were actually on the ground. You heard some of them now. You heard Tzachi, you heard Chaim, and other people who actually been on those events. And the last year and a half, or basically hands-on, gained a lot of different experience with the real-world case studies, both on the clinical level, but also on the operational level, and different strategies of how you would want to go about in preparing your organization an emergency. Again, whether it's a terrorist attack, a Taylor Swift concert go wrong, a Christmas market, pandemic, whatever the world needs, whatever we need to deal with, unfortunately. And as I said before, this is something that you have a holistic view of all the different organization throughout Israel that are dealing with it, as well as what we've heard from Neely before. We're also going to give the dimension of technology. So the idea is also to bring a lot of B2B with technological companies that can give different solutions for emergency care and disasters, and from communication to the medical stuff. These are some of the things that you will gain in this 3 days, and how those 3 days looks like. Basically, there's a whole syllabus, and we can share that with you, including one day in the south and a day with the Ministry of Health, of course, and other participants. So the idea is basically to provide a holistic view on emergency medicine preparedness and how you need to take a look from our experience, how you need to uh, um, prepare for that element. So, with that said, I would like to thank all the different speakers for their time today, and I would like to thank the people that have attended. We have concluded this webinar, but I do want to open some for questions. Sarah, do you want us? Do you want to open the questions a little bit for if someone wants to unmute himself, or maybe he can ask for unmute, and then we can do that just for a few minutes, and then we can finish. Otherwise, what we can do is we will share with you all the different presentation, and we will share with you also the contact details of the speakers, and you can contact them directly. And we hope that you had a very good and productive session. And I want to thank you very much for your time. Um, and that's it. If you want to unmute yourself, you can just ask for it, and we can unmute you, and you can ask a question, unless you would want to um, unless you would want to. All right. So thank you very much for everybody. And again, thank you very much for all the presenters. And we will conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Ask a question?
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. Who wants?
Thank you.
Thank you
Does
very
anyone who
much.
wants to ask a question? Feel free.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
so hello, this is Martin speaking from Command Emergency Medical Team from Poland, and I have a question about how to attend on that course, on that workshops that you
Well,
mentioned before.
we will send you an email for all the participants, and you can take a look at that, and we can maybe go offline on this.
Okay, so I'm waiting for an email because it looks
Everybody
great.
will receive it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much from Italy.
Thank you
Thank you
from
very
Vienna.
much.
I have a question. With the central command that you have, and not to make this a hot button topic, it's just a curious question, but with the central command, and the, security failures of the IDF that have come out recently, is there like backup intelligence in the central command that can be like a backup information flow to the IDF? Or is that, like redundancies so that the IDF has awareness across, the health system as well?
I have to say that the IDF has a very good medical system through the medical corps. And each command inside the IDF, there is a whole division of health, of medical officers that treat what needed to be known in the ground. At the same time, we are sharing, and it goes bilaterally as a flow of information from the civilian system to the military. What about capacities? What about the options? Where do we have shortages? And vice versa, we get information what to expect. So if there is an event with multiple casualties in a certain field or so, or region, we need to know as soon as possible to try and start preparing the relevant hospitals and make also decision about the location of primary evacuation, and then also start to discuss where to go secondary in sense of downloading severe pressure and close hospital like Soroka that had happened in October 7. And as said, many of the casualties who reached from the 750 casualties reaching Soroka the first day, many of them were secondary evacuated to other hospitals in the country, and that is part of the work and which will work together.
Thank you very much. No, I think also, the inflammation flow going the other way as well. My question was more about, did the pattern of casualties and the number of casualties and the method of showing up and where they did, like your data collection that you have, could that possibly help on the other side with a kind of a pattern, an emerging pattern to provide intelligence on the other side? But
Certainly.
thank you.
Yeah, certainly. I think this bilateral communication is so important. It, of course, has to do with intelligence, has to do also with many practical issues. We need to know better what to expect, but the military should know what can we give. And we all need to understand the quality, as you said, the type of injuries, the type of casualties which are coming, the severity, the conditions. For instance, for how many burn patients should we prepare? Because if we have an event with many burn trauma, we need to start a different operation in comparison to other types of trauma. If we have crash trauma of buildings being collapsing or stuff like that. So this type of medical information is extremely important on the level of the casualties. There are also many other issues which we did not touch today, like epidemiological issues and other issues in that sense.
We're happy to collect any other questions if you have. Dvora, I saw that you raised your hand if you want.
Hi, yes. I was just wondering if you have a system for training drills and mass casualty, because as good as, everyone can train up, but the problem really becomes is they don't happen very often. And when they do happen, people tend to forget what their roles are. Do you run at a national level any sort of drills, involving the IDF, the EMS services, as well as the hospitals?
Yes, we do. Each and every hospital drill also had the EMS as part of the drill, and of course on a national level. Whether you ask if we have multiple hospital or multiple medical center drills, that is much more complicated to have due to the capacity needed and the fact that you still need to provide services to the population at the time of a drill. So it's not a common thing to have like 5 hospitals together being under a drill, unless we have a very specific scenario, like let's say like a cyber attack, a national cyber attack. Now we have 5 hospitals suffering from a dysfunction due to a cyber attack, and we do have these scenarios of drilling together.
Daniel, do you want to also relate to that?
And not only on the national level with the Ministry of Health and the IDF, the hospitals themselves also run different mass casualty event drills. It might be small, it might be big, but alongside with running instructions throughout the year, we also do drills to make sure we're prepared.
Thank you. I see David, Michelle, if you guys want to, you raise your hands if you guys want to ask. Please just also introduce yourself very quickly.
Hi, David Eisenbaum with the Region 1 Regional Disaster Health Response System in the US. Curious if you could speak a little bit about how you do large-scale patient transfers when it's not just one hospital to another. Perhaps you've got an MCI where you need to distribute patients to 3 or 4 hospitals. Is there a centralized method that you use for that? And if so, could you speak to it, please?
I'll answer for that sense. Usually it's not necessary, and a lot of our evacuation is done by air, as I have mentioned, the helipad issue. And a specific helicopter would usually go to one single center. In some cases, it may stop in some scenarios and evacuate, mostly in emergency situation, a certain life-threatening condition and continue on to the final destination, but that is not extremely common. As I said, on a national level, these type of things are usually done by air. We do discuss in catastrophe scenarios, which are mega catastrophe, like a massive earthquake uh, affecting the whole country, whether we should have then even evacuation out of the country to third-party countries. With some of your country, we already discussed that, and that is a complicated issue, but still worthwhile both creating a proper doctrine and drilling it properly. God forbid we'll need it ever. Thank you.
If I may elaborate, the first time that Israel did use secondary transport for patients was during the October War, when on the 8th of October, the Israeli National EMS Service, Magen David Adom, transported patients from the busy hospitals such as Soroka and Barzilai to other hospitals, especially for orthopedic surgeries and non-urgent patients. So they were sent to other hospitals in the center of Israel.
Um, Michelle, no, Michael,
Yes,
sorry.
thank you, Michael, New York anesthesiologist. Thank you for great presentation. My quick question, can you comment on second victim management after the facts? What's happening on national level and what resources allocated for that? So for those doctors and nurses and who are psychologically affected and stress-related injuries to prevent burnout and in the near future and afterwards. Thank you.
On the national level, I may say that we have a national program to treat first responders as well as medical staff. We do understand that the impact of being part of a scenario like as described here by Dr. Slutsky is enormous and varies with it quite a substantial amount of post-trauma and other anxiety disorders. So we do understand that we must treat our caregivers. It's true for doctors, it's true for nurses, it's true for everybody else involved. We have a very interesting program with WHO for first provider services, which we give together, and it's a long-lasting procedure. It's not just, one consultation and that's it. Some of these individuals need support for quite a long time.
Vered, you want to ask a question?
Yes, I do. Hi, I'm Dr. Vered Gazit. I'm pediatric emergency medicine physician in Canada, Israeli originally. Is the Adam software for identification of unknown patients available in English and for sale, like for outside of Israel?
Not yet.
Is it planned to be?
I don't know. I'll check for you.
Thanks.
Maybe you want to say something about what's the Adam system for everybody because we have a 500 people audience here.
Are you talking to me?
No, anyway, Danielle, you want?
Ashi, can you please? Okay, so it's a system, it's a digital system that helps us to identify a patient. For example, if an unknown injured patient comes into the ED, we take picture of him and we write all kinds of marks, for example, tattoos or other marks that that somebody can recognize him for. And the Adam digital program is a program that can communicate between hospitals and different organizations. So when a family members or any civilian wants to go to one facility and ask about a question about his family member, it's a one digital record that holds all different organizations in the country.
Okay. Any other questions? Please raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Go ahead.
May I, Ziv,
yes.
may I have
Yeah, can you just introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, so I use actually I'm now in Atlanta in the United States, but I used to be the PhD student of Soroka Medical Center in the Beersheba. So it's very nice to hear all the stories at the moment. And thank you so much for all this wonderful, wonderful presentation. It brought me a lot of memories. And I would like to have a question for Dr. Tsahi Slasky, for the director of the Soroka Medical Center, where I've worked. So I think the volunteer people are so important in this emergency care. So how would you train the so many? I think the volunteers are more kind of a few times more than the medical staff. So how do you train the volunteers for them to be engaged and also to be experienced sometimes in situation like that? Do you use volunteers in a regular basis or just only in very big casualties? If it's only in very big casualties, you might lose all these volunteers. How do you engage? How do you train them? Are there programs for free training or country sponsored trainings for them?
So as also Danny mentioned as in his speak, actually we are not ready for everything. Like no, for example, with volunteers, actually we wasn't completely ready with a lot of volunteers that are completely have the knowledge of what to do in a mass casualty incidents. What we can do and what we did actually, we use a lot of medical students because we are an affiliated hospital to a Ben Gurion University and many of the hospital in Israel, like Tel Aviv University, Ichilov, and other medical university. Actually, we are affiliated. So actually, what we did that we take students that actually live near Soroka. And actually, we train them in different issue that they can help as a volunteer on a mass casualty incidents. Like, for example, medical support staff to move patients from one ward to another, to write records, to take blood. And actually, we have a pool of these volunteers that actually arrive only if we decide we need them in a mass casualty incident. In most other events like trauma, different car accidents, actually we don't need these volunteers, and we actually train them only to mass casualty incidents. On the 7th of October, it was a bit different because it was something that actually attacked all Israel. So everyone actually wanted to do something. So a lot of civilians actually arrived to different hospital and try to ask what they can do to help. It's on sometimes problematic because too many civilians or too many people inside this or also chaos that is already had in the air, it's difficult to handle. So actually, and a lot of doctors and nurses from different hospitals in Israel also arrived to Soroka to help us around afternoon. So the best I think is to prepare it in advance, like to take a bunch of students or other volunteers and to train them and to put them in your call list as a staff. If there is a mass casualty incident, you call 20, 40 as you need, and on what on train them on specific things. One of the things we understand we need the most in a mass casualty incidents is the writing the records. You know, when you treat around 800 casualties that enter every 40 seconds, it's very difficult to keep the correct record as best as you can. And when you have a student or a volunteer that is stand near you and write everything you do, it's much easier. So that's what I would do, and that's what we learn and what we do now after the 7th of October.
Okay, just one more. Thank you so much, Tazia. And just one more question about in this situation. I know Israel has so many technologies in terms of emergency medicine. So you have so many incidences, all these patients. How do you conduct? Do you in Sorako Medical Center also um, conducting like medical research or medical clinical trials for emergency related technologies? Do you engage in this trials?
Yeah, first of all, sure. Not only Soroka, every emergency medicine as also you heard before. A lot of technology in emergency medicine is increasing on the last few years, and I think many of the ER in Israel actually work with different technology, and we are getting into different trials and studies. Maybe also Danny want to tell because a lot of technology entered Ichilov in the ER, but actually we are working with a lot of different groups and trials about this. Yeah.
So both the COVID and the war have created a jumpstart for many applications. As you've seen here, Israel is a startup nation, and on routine daily basis, so many applications are being created here. During COVID, for example, one of our national applications have started, and it was meant to serve for COVID. And when the war started, it transformed itself for managing MCI and war during different hospitals. In Tel Aviv Medical Center, for example, where we have a complete functioning digital control tower, we have a specific application for wartime and for mass casualty event to better react with patient flow, for example, or use of resources and so on. So this is something that is actively happening currently.
Okay. Let's take one or two last question. Angela, do you want to say something? Do you want to? I see you raising your hand. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to ask the question. I'm Angela Pyatova from Kiev, Ukraine, and I'm especially would like to thank you for the experience you shared. And the only one question. I have heard about this event from your colleagues, from our colleagues from Italy, from volunteers from Italy. And your experience is of vital importance, especially for Ukraine right now. The question is, if there is any opportunity to for you to share the experience within the international project activity. So you see, we will be very grateful for this opportunity if there is any. Thank you.
May I don't know. Maybe the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or Ministry of Health can, if you have
We have
projects.
continuous connection with Ukraine government,
Yeah.
specifically with the Ministry of Health. I have even direct
Yep.
connection with the minister himself, Mr. Lushko, and we did have an emergency training for Ukraine officials just before the war, and we do continue on working on different level, including virtual level, in order to share experience and to see where can we learn together from the experience of each of our countries. So I hope things would become better in both of our countries, and we could sit down physically here or in Kiev and work together in order to establish better emergency preparedness for the future.
Hopefully.
Thank you very much for your answer. Just a few words. I'm a professor of a department for occupational safety and civil protection. Every student in this country has this subject, you see, has this discipline. And if it is possible to include the content model into the educational program, using your experience, you see, and this can be done through the international project activity. Like what? There is the programs like Horizon Europe, and in early June, the cluster 3 dedicated to the civil protection items will be opened. Maybe it is worth discussing the possibility to join the process and activities in this area, what I meant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. And we just arrived to 4 p.m. Israel time, and it means that we're 2 hours into this webinar, and I don't wanna keep everybody waiting, even though that we have a very large participation. So at this point, I'll just conclude. I'll just go to Yael Ravia. I don't know if you're still with us. If you want to say a few words just to finish just to conclude this webinar. Wait, we can hear you, Yael. Can you hear me? No, but I mean, I cannot hear you.
נראה לי שזה רק אני ואתה נשאר.
Okay. Okay, so thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for all the participants and for all the speakers. We will send you all the details, and we will be in touch with you, and feel free to shoot us an email afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
It was very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank, thank you.
Hello. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Sarah,
you
Sarah, I think we can
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
thank you very much.
very much from the Philippines.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much from Philippines.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much.
Thank you.